28 days after GM CEO Mary Barra said that General Motors would not be firing staff, it fired 500 salaried workers in the US and offered redundancies to 53,000 more. Many workers believe if they don't take the redundancy package, it's just a matter of time before they are fired too. Many of you would have seen the news by now. Mary Barra has met with US senators to discuss just how important General Motors is as an automaker.
It's the Cruise Origin. It's a purpose-built rideshare vehicle, and you can see inside it's campfire-style seating, because when you don't need to drive, you can actually look at each other.
Mary Barra meets with these senators, talks about how General Motors are going to save American jobs, and I thought this is great. Great news. You know what? I talked about it Fully Charged Live. America could save part of the Western democracy. I mean that. We have a situation where there will likely be a monopoly on the auto industry by China. The IRA could prevent that. So I'm getting excited, thinking, yeah, okay, that's great. General Motors, they're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, what pops up? General Motors just fired hundreds of salaried workers. General Motors are now wanting to get rid of as many salaried workers as they possibly can. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Electric Viking. Great to see you. Not so great to see this, but great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. And I want to point out that over the past 12 months, the media has focused very, very heavily on what? They focused very heavily on Tesla firing employees, salaried employees, arguing with employees about the flavor of ice cream that's in the dispensary machines in the lunchrooms. There's all kinds of wacky articles on CNBC, all over the mainstream news about the most trivial, ridiculous arguments. Was there the right air conditioning temperature put on a certain room? Tesla is getting rid of these workers in this area because apparently they're being unfairly treated because actually, isn't it interesting to read that Tesla significantly increased their salaried workers this year while General Motors decreased theirs? What about Ford? Same. Decreased. I don't think Mary Barra's conversation with these senators discussed those facts. I'd say it was more about feelings, emotions, maybe not so much about logic. Now, if you disagree, I want to know why. Let me know why. Because I've just presented some incontrovertible facts that the media would not like you to talk about. In fact, the media will probably say, ban the Electric Viking. You can't talk about this stuff. It's too logical. It's just too logical for us to... Mind blown. Now, General Motors said a few days ago, we're in it to win it. It's GM first, everyone else last. And the funny thing is, surprising thing is that quite a lot of so-called automotive industry analysts and experts say that, yes, by 2025 or 2026, GM will in fact be selling more EVs than Tesla. Now that could happen, but not in 2025. Okay, maybe in 2035 if GM pulls off some sort of Houdini, but certainly not in 2025. We're in the midst of General Motors saying, for years, we have the ultimate answer to the EV. We know what we're doing. It's called Ultium. It's the complete package. It's the real deal. It solves EVs. It's the future. Prismatic cells. Whoa. Hold up a minute. What just happened? GM was saying their batteries are the right solution, better than Tesla's. All of a sudden, what do? Cancel their decision to build another battery factory with LG Chem for their Ultium cells. Move away from that to build cylindrical cells. Maybe the Ultium system wasn't quite as Ultium as what GM has been saying it was. Just a little tip there. So, Mary Barra held a meeting with 2 US senators a few days ago in an effort to push for a rollout of legislation that will help GM accelerate their introduction of self-driving vehicles on American roads. Now, this comes at a time when we have seen quite a few GM Cruise vehicles do really well. That's true. And some of them they just like to party and hang out in streets together. I'm not joking. They actually drive, they find each other and just block a street and hang out. Yeah, it's strange. Almost like sentient beings or something. Anyhow, this meeting was attended by Barra Senate Commerce Committee Chair Maria Cantwell and Senator Gary Peters, both of whom are Democrats. Peters, who represents Michigan, noted that it is pertinent to support American car makers so they can compete with countries such as China and support American jobs. He also noted that the GM CEO discussed the future of mobility, including autonomous vehicles. Didn't mention anything about General Motors firing lots of salaried workers a few days before the meeting and a few days after the meeting as well. We must act to ensure US manufacturers can compete with countries like China, create jobs here, and improve roadway safety, Peters said. GM's autonomous driving technology unit Cruise has been allowed to provide robotaxi services in San Francisco without human drivers. And on February 2022, Cruise revealed that it had submitted a petition to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or the NHTSA, so it could get permission to deploy 2,500 autonomous cars per year. These vehicles would have no steering wheels, mirrors, turn signals, or windshield wipers. Now, just to take a moment, it's fair that we give General Motors credit where credit is due. Yes, Cruise is actually pretty good. Is it the solution that we're going to see on widespread roads everywhere in, say, 10 years' time? That's a completely different story. Don't know. The vehicle referenced by Cruise in its petition appears to be the Origin. Teslarati says this is a notable step up from the converted Chevy Bolt EVs that the company currently uses. The Origin is a purpose-built robotaxi with subway-like doors and no steering wheel. GM has been very vocal about the need for the US to back self-driving efforts. It's been backed big time in Beijing, in China. They're really going after this market. They know it's the future. There's a lot of Chinese companies working on this, and they're actually very good at software. It's the reason why Volkswagen said, damn, what are we going to do? We'll just buy a Chinese software company to fix all our software problems. They did that, and what do you know? A few months later, a lot of the problems are fixed. Amazing. And that cost them about $2.5 billion, by the way. But hey, if it works, it works. Now, General Motors highlighted that the country, Americans, are at risk of falling behind against rivals like China. And they would be right. That being said, GM also faced some scrutiny for its work with Cruise. In December, the NHTSA initiated a safety probe into Cruise after 2 rear-end crashes involving Cruise robotaxis led to injuries. The regulatory body received reports stating that the self-driving Cruise vehicles may engage in inappropriately hard braking or become immobilized or hold nightclub parties in the street. Sounds ridiculous, but yeah, it is true. There was like 11 of them that turned up and blocked a street and just hung out there together for some reason for, I don't know how long, a long time. Cruise has noted that it was cooperating with the NHTSA's investigation. I don't really care about this, to be honest, about these parties, street parties, and slamming their brakes on and doing stuff like that. It is actually part of what needs to happen, because yes, this is the future, and yes, we have to. The democratic world needs this kind of technology. It needs this software. Otherwise, it's just going to come from China, like everything else does. So it is important. And realistically, there's going to be hiccups along the way. There has been for Tesla, but we've got to give credit where credit's due. Tesla's latest fully autonomous driving stack is very good. This is very good. GM's record this year on jobs is not very good. Tesla's record this year, according to the media, on jobs is terrible, but actually, it's good. They've added salaried workers. GM has reduced salaried workers. It's important to point out that reality. On the 20th of February, General Motors cut 500 salaried workers. That was after they cut workers only a month before. In fact, I believe it was a couple of thousand only a month before. Then on the 9th of March, General Motors offered to buy out the majority of its US salaried workers. General Motors will offer voluntary buyouts to a majority of its US white-collar employees, according to a letter sent to workers last Thursday. And GM expects to see a pre-tax charge of around $1.5 billion related to the buyouts, according to a public filing Thursday by the company. So General Motors is actually offering voluntary buyouts to 58,000 employees. And then it's meeting, literally a few days later, with senators to talk about how it's doing great things for American jobs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.